Hello, everyone. I'm Cameron Bailey. I'm the artistic director and co-head of Tiff, and thanks so much for joining us for this special conversation about Sound of Metal. We always like to begin by acknowledging and reflecting on the land that we're on, who the traditional keepers of that land are, and what the treaty relationship is, or if it's unceded territory. I'm in Toronto, and this is the treaty land and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee. And it's part of the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant and is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are grateful to be working on this land. I also want to extend a thank you to some of the people who help us do what we do. Our lead sponsor, Bell, and our major sponsors, RBC, L'Oreal Paris, and Visa, and our government supporters, the Government of Canada, the Government of Ontario, and the City of Toronto. I'm so proud to have brought Sound of Metal to audiences for the first time at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival in our platform competition. It was a hit then, and I am so glad to see it went on to so much success. It's one of the very best films of this year. You know, there's so many movies I love, but so few where I feel like we have a mission to get people to see and hear the film. And I'm thrilled that we have with us the director and co-writer Darius Marder, the lead actor Riz Ahmed, and fellow actor Paul Racy. Gentlemen, welcome and thank you.
Hey, thank you. Great to see you, Cameron.
Good to see you too. It's been a minute. So listen, I want to begin, Darius, maybe by asking you about the process of bringing this story to the screen. I know it took years, took some time to do it, but there's so much texture in the film and how you put it together. I wonder what was most important to you in creating this fictional character, Ruben, but also in revealing the very real world of a deaf healing culture in America.
Well, I think it really comes down to the life, the real authentic life that's behind both of those things. So as it relates to Ruben, you know, Ruben was really personal for me in building Ruben, and personal for my brother as well, as we wrote together for years. And, you know, I think it's why it took so long to write, because it was in many ways, it was kind of scary to write and hard to unearth those things, those aspects of what's really kind of drawing you to write a character. And Ruben really meant, you know, writing Ruben really meant kind of going into those aspects of ourselves, and which we did, my brother and I did over many years, and just and then ultimately on a thematic level, kind of really mining the depths of what was bringing me to the whole project, you know, and that had a lot to do with the ending and a lot to do with this idea of letting go, and it was extraordinarily difficult for me and very painful, and I think it was because I was ushering that into my own life, actually, and that's indeed how it's played out. As far as the deaf community goes, I think it's the same thing, though. It's authenticity, and that really meant going to the deaf community. You know, that really meant kind of opening myself up to be curious, and then letting the deaf community take over. You know, and that was really exciting for me and for me and my brother, because, you know, I think that being curious about other cultures is what we want to be doing, you know, here. And the deaf culture is such a huge word. It's so complex. There's so many subcultures, so many aspects to deaf culture. It just felt like I dipped my toe into it. You know, it's like this tiny little view into some aspects of deaf culture, and even that felt enormous to me. So it was just always expansive, always exciting, and I just tried to get a film that honored that, you know.
Riz, your character Ruben is the one who enters deaf culture at first against his will. And what I loved about the performance is that there is so much in the unspoken moments, in your gestures, the behavior that you use, the stare that you have when, you know, you're going through something, those outbursts of anger that aren't about dialogue, but are about how your character moves physically. And I wonder, could you talk a little bit about the non-dialogue parts of the film in creating Ruben?
Well, no, it's interesting because as a British actor, and the British kind of acting tradition is very much steeped in theatre. It's often, focused on analysing the text and working the text. And what was interesting about this process was, for me, it called on a different approach. It required something different of me. And I wanted to kind of explore a different process as an actor with this. And what that might be, I wasn't sure about until we started preparation for the film, 8 months out. And I realized just how physical the preparation was. It was about learning the drums, which is a physical, non-verbal communication, really.
And just to be clear, you had not played the drums before Sound of Metal.
No, I didn't know how to play the drums. So I learned that for the movie. And then similarly with American Sign Language, which, I didn't know how to sign. And I wanted to get to some level of kind of approaching fluency to be able to, communicate with the deaf actors on set and to improvise. And both American Sign Language and playing the drums, they're physical, non-verbal kinds of communication. And so it opened me up physically in a different way as a performer, as an actor, as a person, really. It put me and my body in a different way. And that wasn't something that, I thought would come to the rescue and pay off, when we were getting to the shoot. But by the time we got to the shoot, lo and behold, you just realize actually there's vast swathes of this movie that are nonverbal. And it is about kind of having a, responsive and sensitized body that can react spontaneously to what's going on. And I feel like the preparation process of sign language and drumming and the physical training with my trainer, who was also hard of hearing, really kind of prepared me for that.
Mm-hmm. Paul, I wanted to pick up on what Darius and Riz have talked about in terms of the importance in this film of portraying deaf culture in an appropriate way, in a way that was authentic. You grew up in deaf culture, and I'm sure you must have known when you signed on to this movie that a lot of people outside of deaf culture would learn maybe the most they've ever learned about it from watching this film. So I just wonder, what was most important to you that this movie get right?
Oh, wow. Well, after years and years of what I would call Hollywood's neglect of the deaf community and portraying them not authentically, maybe a hearing actor here and there or whatever they've done, what I was most excited about was reading the script was that he was going to show a deaf sober house, which I've had a lot of experience with. And a lot of people, I think Hollywood's kind of trained the world to look at deaf people as these saintly people that would never have an addiction problem or anything like that. God forbid they could be human or something. I think that's what I've heard most deaf people say to me about the script is, wow, thanks for showing us as addicts, which is kind of a weird thing, but thank you for showing us as human.
It's real.
Yes. Cameron, I'm going to tell you something. Growing up as a boy, I can count on my 3 times in my life, and I've kept track of these times. People say, so your parents are deaf. I say, yes, my parents are deaf. And then they stop and they go, so that means they were married and they had sex at one point, right? I mean, my father got on top of my mother. And what am I supposed to say?
Explain how you
have to explain that there's but you see my point? Deaf people would never do that, or they don't know how, or it's not only deaf people, it's people that are wheelchair bound, blind people that have whatever kind of non-enabling thing that's happened to them. There's questions like that. So, and I say that's 3 times in my life, and I'm an old guy now, but 3 times that people specifically said, so they actually had intercourse. So it's, we're just trying to normalize the situation, if you want.
We're going to get there sooner or later with Paul. We were going to, the word intercourse was going to enter the Q&A.
Bring that up. So at least I said intercourse, though. But but you get my point. That's the thing that they've said to me most of all is, thanks for showing us in that light, because we're just like you. We're just like you.
I love where this movie goes. And when I first watched it, before we invited it to the festival, I was so surprised and just thrilled to see this movie kind of just open up new doors in the third act of the story, where your character goes to France. There's a reunion. There's a new kind of coming to terms with what your new life is going to be, your character's life. Riz, I wonder, can I ask all of you just about where the movie gets to, where we can assume people watching this have seen the film already and know how it ends, but there's just a beautiful state of grace that the film comes to at the end, and I just wanted to ask you about getting there.
Riz first.
I kind of see Ruben's journey as a journey towards acceptance, and it was one that mirrored my own journey as an actor in accepting a loss of control. So many elements of this project, not just the technical skills, but emotionally felt kind of overwhelming, and I realized the only way I could kind of arrive at them was to kind of let go of trying to control them. And so, at least for me, I feel like where the film gets to and where Ruben gets to was a place that I was kind of trying to search for as an actor during the shoot. I feel like there's a lot of our own experiences and our own. We all put our heart into this movie, and it took a piece of our heart in different ways.
And Darius?
Well, that the opening shot of the first time you see Ruben wake up in the Airstream, the first thing he does is he looks at Lou. Before he does anything, he looks at Lou, looks to make sure Lou's there, and then he owns that space and all of his identities within that space, the audiophile, the musician. And the movie strips all of that away, and the final thing that's stripped away in a bed is Lou. And for me, like the writing of that is the most painful thing in the world, to walk away, to walk away out of love from that and that warm bed into that cold street, into this cold world, and to do it alone, which is how we walk in this world. To earn a moment of being in that place as an audience, to feel into that space and to actually be able to feel a moment of acceptance that comes from that the hardest kind of thing, at least for me, just that utter aloneness that really we do all share. We actually all share it, maybe especially right now. That felt like such a high calling, and such a wonderful bar to be able to feel that we can maybe have a moment of grace within that space of utter loss.
Mm-hmm. Paul, do you remember the first time you saw the completed film and you saw how it concludes, and to see Ruben accept deaf culture, accept that world, accept silence? Do you remember how you felt when you saw that?
Oh, absolutely. I remember how I felt when I read the script. When I saw the movie, that was a very emotional experience for me. But when I read the script, at that last page, it's filmed exactly the way Darius wrote it. And I remember thinking, oh my God, my father would stand up and start applauding at this ending. My father was the kind of guy, see, I told you. He'd be like, he would be. He'd be like and my father married my mom, who had the opposite, almost a different experience than he had. He was deafened at the age of 6 months old, so he didn't know what hearing was at all. My mother lost it when she was 5 years old. So my mother is, I swear, she has the exact same feeling tone that Ruben has in the movie. Anxious, still remembering what it was like, even as an older woman, wanting to go back to it. When I was a boy in high school, she bought me tickets to see the Beatles when they came to Chicago. She wanted me to go see the Beatles because it was a part of pop culture. And when I got back from that concert, she made me explain A to Z. What was this like? How did they do this? What was the music like? Oh my God. And I had to explain the whole thing to her because she bought me the tickets, of course. But I mean, But so there was that duality of my father going, deaf is the way, that's my way. And my mother being, yes, that's my way now too, but I still remember and I still ache for music, you know. So there's, for me, you know, the deaf community is not a monolith, right? God, there's so many different complexities in there. So, but in my life, I've had those two disparate deaf spirits in my life that showed me both my father's acceptance of stillness and just accepting it, loved it. And my mother was restless with it.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for making the film, for just taking the time today. I'm just so glad to see all the success you've had, for the technical achievement as well, which we didn't get a chance to talk about, but it is a just technical piece of mastery as well, and for the dramatic achievement, and for just opening this world to people who may not have known it so well. Thank you, Darius Marder, writer, director, Riz Ahmed, the star of Sound of Metal, and actor Paul Racy. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Cameron, you're a pleasure.
Cameron. Love you, man. See ya.
All right. Take care.
To see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, sir.